Working with brands and working with sponsors should be the first thing you look at, not getting monetized on YouTube. You can make way more money working with brands before you ever get monetized. I talked to so many creators about this, like, oh, I'm gonna wait until I get to like 10,000 subscribers, or I'm gonna like, and then I'll feel comfortable reaching out to brands. And I'm just like, okay, like if you wanna leave thousands and thousands of dollars on the table in the interim, by all means, go ahead and do it.
Hey guys, welcome to Creators Campfire. I'm your host, BHAV, and oh my, do I have a good episode for you this week. I sat down with sponsorship coach Justin Moore. He had such an amazing energy about him and offered so much value. And honestly, it turned into a bit of a coaching session a fair few times in the episode. Again, I'm going to keep using me as an example.
See, this is a personal therapy session. What did I say? Right? What did I just say?
God.
That was the whole...
Thank you for that, Justin. We basically talked about how you can monetize yourself as a creator right from the start of your journey, how you pitch yourself properly, and how you overcome that imposter syndrome that, let's face it, we all have, so that we price ourselves in the right way. We kick off the episode with Justin telling us how he got started on his own content journey. Enjoy. Alrighty, Justin, you are, I guess, the sponsorship guy, but I kind of want to take it back a bit. Can you give me a bit of background on like what you were maybe pre-creator life and then how you got into it in the first place?
Well, I was a hustler when I was a kid. Let's take it all the way back to the womb. No, not to the womb. But I've always really been interested in business and entrepreneurship from like a really early age. Like when I was the earliest memory I have is like I literally would do car washes in my driveway at my house. I would like go to the main street and I would literally put like $5 for cars or like $7 for like I was like even price discriminating when I was a kid. I was like $7 for SUVs or vans because like I literally had to get a step stool to get to the top of like the right, like I should. That's extra work. Like you have to, right? Yes. It's important, right? And so I would enlist my friends from grade school to like do the car washes with me, and then I would go and I would raid my parents' pantry and put up like a snack shack. So I was even upselling, like even when I was a kid. Like you sit, I have a captive audience. They're sitting there getting their car, and like seriously, I can't tell you how many customers I would never let like literally a 10-year-old kid wash my car. Like maybe I would, but like I was so surprised at how much business I got. But it was a blast. So that was like my, and so like progressively as I got older, I would do crazier and crazier like money making schemes. I was an art broker. I was literally an art broker. I would go for, when I was in college, I would go to estate sales, garage sales, flea markets, and I would look for bronzes and early like California Impressionism paintings, and I would go and sell them on eBay and in auction houses. Yeah, this is a serious thing. I made literally, I think probably over the course of like tens of thousands of dollars doing this. Like I got like to be, I even wrote a whole ebook around how to praise art. Like if you like for flipping it, like it's crazy. I've done so many things throughout my life.
Justin.
It was all a hunger for like, I don't know. I was just really hungry, like make money, be an entrepreneur. Like, and so meanwhile I was in school for engineering. That was like my background. I went to UCLA and I thought I was going to be a programmer. Like that was, well, actually, another step back. I thought I was going to be a concert pianist growing up because like music was my life. Like I was like from a very early age, I've written hundreds of songs, piano, guitar, like that was like my love, my passion. And so I had this like crossroads when I was deciding whether to go to college or not. I was thinking like, am I going to go to school for music? I actually applied to music schools as well as engineering schools. And it was a like torturous decision for me, but I ultimately decided I'm going to go to UCLA. I'm going to do the engineering thing. It's like the hub for music in LA. I can still do my music stuff. And so, yeah, it's like very weird. There's these decisions in your life that you look back on, have a really profound impact on the direction of your life. Right. And so I did go the engineering thing. I ended up graduating from college a year early. So I actually graduated in 3 years. And nice. Luckily, I did that in 2007. I graduated in 2007. So all my friends who took the 4 years couldn't find jobs, but because it was the financial crisis. And so it's just like weird. My life has worked out like that, where it's just like some serendipitously, I made some choice that like ultimately worked out for me. But it was like, it's the same thing. I was so glad that I would like did the engineering thing. I had a job and all that stuff. And then I met my wife while I was in college, my wife, April, and we were in LA and she was a preschool teacher at the time. And so what happened was she had literally never watched a YouTube video before like we got together. And so I was like, you should like check out this YouTube thing. It's like really cool. There's like, she's like, I thought it was just like cat videos. I was like, no, like there's lots of stuff on here. And so she started watching Michelle Phan and a lot of the early beauty gurus and you know, people doing makeup. And she really loved that, testing out beauty products and stuff. And I was like, honey, you should do this. Like, you're so good at this. You're really good at your makeup and stuff. And she's like, no, I don't know. I shouldn't if I do that. She kept like hemming and hawing. And finally, she's like, okay, I'm going to do it. So she filmed her first YouTube video with our webcam. It was literally, I don't know, 360p or whatever. It was like terrible quality. Yeah. And I helped her edit it on Windows Movie Maker. That was like the software we used at that time. And, you know, this was like, you could not make money on YouTube in 2009. That was when she started her channel. And it was very much like a passion thing. It was like a hobby. It was like, oh, I don't know anyone in my life who likes makeup and beauty and cosmetics. Let me just find a community here, right? And so in the early days, I was not in front of the camera. I was just helping her kind of the behind the scenes stuff. When brands started reaching out, offering her free products, she was like, yes, I've succeeded in life. Free makeup, right? Because makeup's expensive, right? And so she was very much just stoked about that. Like that was the extent of it. And so it wasn't until brands started reaching out saying, hey, we'll actually pay you to talk about our product. And she was like, oh, what do I do? Like there's a contract, like you look at this, I don't know. And so here I was at that time in business school now, going at night. And I was like, I could do this. I'm a business school person. I could like look at it. And so I had no idea what I was doing, looking at these contracts, like, sure, that seems right. Right. And so signing away all these rights, like broadcast TV rights, literally, we made every mistake in the book. We turned on the TV one day and saw her like an excerpt from her YouTube video running as like a TV ad. And we were just like, and so we go and look, oh yeah, we clearly were not paid for that. We clearly signed away those rights. So, you know, you name it, giving away perpetual rights to our content, you know, doing tons of work for like really small pay, you know, just like literally you name it. We've made every mistake in the book. And so over the years, kind of the evolution story is that, you know, we've done by now hundreds and hundreds of brand deals. We have done, we've made over $4 million working with brands. So this has become an incredibly huge part of our business. But about 7 years ago, I started an influencer marketing agency to bring sponsorships to other creators because I saw like, man, there is like so much opportunity in this space for creators who are family friendly, who are brand safe, right? Because a lot of brands want to work with creators. They want to do influencer marketing, but they're afraid of being embroiled in the latest influencer controversy or something and getting blowback, right? And so I was like, okay, we're going to make an agency. It's going to be a bunch of our family vlogger friends. That was like kind of the thesis in the beginning, is like, and I'm just going to get everyone deals. I'm like, hey, like you're going to be on my roster. It was all like non-exclusive. I wasn't managing them. I was like, hey, can I pitch you? And they're like, sure, bring me deals. Sure. Right. So that was the business model. It was like, let me go out there. I will, you know, hustle for you. And so like that drove a lot of the early traction is like just saying that we had access to this, you know, pipeline of creators that were, you know, family friendly. And so I've had this very interesting career of like kind of both sides of the fence of like, I've been a creator doing lots of deals in the trenches, but also understand what it's like actually being in the room with a brand or an advertiser who says, I want to spend not $10,000 working with one creator. I want to spend $1 million working with, you know, 100 creators or something like that. Right. So it's like a very different conversation. It's a very different pitch that you have to do, a very different kind of dog and pony show, you know, to like kind of convince them to give you $1 million or whatever. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that has really led into this next chapter of my life. The kind of creator wizard education content that I've been making on social media for the last 2 years is like, helping creators understand like it's what is it actually like behind the scenes? How do you get the brand to choose you instead of that other person? And so it's just been such a blast. It's been an amazing ride.
That is so very, very cool. And yes, hustler from day one, clearly. I love that. Love the upsell at 10 years old. That is very, very cool. Okay, what an insane journey. Quick question before I dig into like a bunch of that stuff is why did you not create your own channel at that point? Why were you kind of pushing your wife more so? Obviously, like I'm sure she like had her thing and she could do it, but why not you?
So I did actually. So the first channel was her April Athena 7. That was her kind of beauty and skincare. It evolved into a motherhood lifestyle channel. Then we started a cooking channel together, actually, and I was the taste tester. I was the official taste tester. Literally, that I would come. She would do the tutorial, and then I would come at the end, and I'd be like, and people would be like, "Is he ever going to say it's not delicious?" Truly, everything was delicious, of course. But it was like the running joke. But and then we started the family vlog channel together, and so that really was kind of where we saw our creator careers take off. But then I also did have my own channel. Little known fact, my current Creator Wizard channel is a complete rebrand of my initial channel that I had 8 years ago, which was called Advice from Justin. And I would literally just give life advice. I've always loved doing that. I was actually a peer mentor in junior high in my school, where it was this really cool program they had where they acknowledged like a couple people who were like well respected amongst their peers, and instead of seeing the school counselor, you would see your peer. And so I would literally do I went through a training and everything, and I would counsel my friends. It was crazy. I've never even heard of like that before, but I've always had this propensity for loving being the person that people can come to for advice. And so on my channel, I would get life advice, marriage advice, career advice, relationship advice, all this stuff. And so I've made over 500 videos on that channel, but then I took a 5-year hiatus. And then when I decided to start making content for creators again, I literally just slapped a fresh coat of paint on it. And I was like, yeah, now I'm making content for creators. So that retrospectively was maybe not the best idea, which is a whole nother conversation, because my CTR and I have the vast majority of my audience does not care about being a creator. And so, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I definitely have been in front of the camera for a while.
Yes. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I've obviously seen your newer content and your channel, and I'm like, obviously this guy knows what he's doing and what he's talking about. And also, just while we're on it, love the energy, both here, but also in your videos and stuff. It's just so cool. It doesn't matter what mood you're in, you kind of rock up and you listen to it and you're like, shit,
I appreciate that.
I'm ready. Bring on the, I'm not making any money, but I'm ready to make money. Right.
Oh my gosh. You know what's so funny? Part of the reason why I decided to start making content around sponsorships and the business of being a creator and things like that is that I kind of look to myself as almost like a tough love mentor, because I have found that the major reason why I decided to start do this is that the vast majority, or the body of content that I have seen educating creators around this topic, has been very adversarial. It's been very much like brands are evil. They're trying to screw us, and everything they do is malicious, and they're trying to take advantage of us. And that has been the exact opposite of my experience as a creator. It's actually been awesome. The vast 99% of my interactions with brands have been awesome. Yes, there's been, challenges where things have come up that haven't been expected, but that is what happens in a business relationship, right? And so a lot of it came from just wanting to introduce a different type of narrative into this, dance that you do with brands and let's face it, the vast majority of creators, brand deals and sponsorships are their biggest revenue source. And so I felt like there was this void, this missing piece of conversation happening around how you should actually be professional, be communicative, be professional, have an ability to be objective when it comes to getting feedback from brands on your content and things like that. And I just didn't see that conversation happening. And so I felt like I needed to insert myself into that.
Yes, I think many people are grateful for that. Yeah, I guess that is one of the things. Obviously, when a creator starts out, that's not the things that they're thinking about. But as their channel grows and they grow, and their content gets further and further out there, all of a sudden this starts happening, and then they're like, "What am I supposed to do? Nobody taught me this, right? I'm just making videos." And I guess the whole dealing with sponsorships or dealing with brand deals or anything like that is so different from just making YouTube videos. And I guess the majority of people that have personal channels don't really get in. Obviously they get into it, but maybe to make money, but it's not the business side of stuff, right? It's the creativity side of stuff that they are that's what they're good at. That's why they're making content. And all of a sudden there's this whole other side to things. And it's oh crap, what is going on here? And obviously you've been through that, which is why you can teach this and pass on all of your wisdom. I guess there's different types though, going back to that personal YouTuber, right? They are fully aware of being monetized on YouTube and getting the AdSense. But obviously in the long run, AdSense on its own isn't sustainable, or isn't the best thing to do to rely on that, I guess. So for somebody, we'll kind of walk through, I guess, creators at different stages of their journey. But someone who is new to being monetized, and therefore the next step is maybe something else or another stream of revenue from their channel, like what other options are, I guess, available to them, and which one maybe should they prioritize, or how does it make a difference?
I gotcha. So I would actually take a step back, which is that I actually think that like working with brands and working with sponsors should be the first thing you look at, not getting monetized on YouTube, because you can make way more money working with brands before you ever get monetized, right? Because it's actually a tall order to get monetized in the beginning, right? Because there are people who are very accomplished professionals. Maybe you're a videographer, or, you have expertise, in your day job where you're shooting drone photography or whatever, weddings, whatever, right? There's a lot of talented, creative people out there who could provide a lot of value to a brand, to a company, and make a lot more money than just getting watch hours on YouTube to be able to get monetized, right? And so it's actually a myth. I think that like going after getting monetized is the first thing that you should do on YouTube in particular. I have a video on my channel called "How to Get Sponsorships with 0 Subscribers." Because it was like you at that point you look at your platform. Not just YouTube, but any platform, you look at it as your portfolio at that point, right? So when you are trying to pitch or propose a partnership, or maybe you're creating content for a brand or a company or something like that, when you send them your channel, it's not like, oh, I'm going to talk about you to my 1,000 subscribers. It's like, no, I'm going to here's my credibility. I can make amazing content, and I'm going to do it for you, and you get to own it, and you get to post it on your channels or use it for paid advertising or whatever. So it's just like a very simple mindset shift around the value that you can bring as a creator, and not letting this arbitrary threshold of how many followers you have dictate whether you can monetize or not. I talked to so many creators about this, oh, I'm going to wait until I get to 10,000 subscribers, or I'm going to and then I'll feel comfortable reaching out to brands. And I'm just okay, if you want to leave thousands and thousands of dollars on the table in the interim, by all means, go ahead and do it. And so again, this is the tough love in me coming out, but it's a lot of creators have just never thought of this. They never thought that they have value beyond their arbitrary social metrics that the platforms are giving them, right? So that's the first thing.
True.
Yeah,
I realize.
Please, yeah.
Let's pick that one apart, I guess.
Please.
So I'll take me as an example. Not that I think I'm the best example, but let's throw in a selfish question early, right? So I am definitely one of those people that's I have zero value to offer. I'm not even going to think about that. So I have, take for example, that we've got this podcast channel, which is, I don't know, 570 subscribers or something. And then I have what I'm calling a main channel, even though I haven't posted on it for a year, and there's 950 subscribers on there. Haven't made a video in a year, but hopefully that will change. So I've got these kind of two platforms. So if it was me in that situation and we were maybe having this conversation, do you think there's anything in there that is what should I be looking at? Is there something there, or am I maybe not that kind of person? Maybe there does need to be some other skill involved.
Okay, so maybe I'll hire you to work with my brand. You know why? Because even from, this is the first time we're meeting, right? We've never met before. And we had some, pre-interview banter, right? We got along well, right? You understand the creator economy, given your professional background, given the types of guests you've interacted with and things like that. Yeah. I am now in the place in my business where I can't do it all. I'm trying to figure out, how do I grow my team? How do I bring on other sponsorship coaches? How do I grow my blog, my website with more written long form content marketing? How do I get my podcast off the ground? So maybe the pitch that you give to me, or the pitch that you give to other brands or advertisers, is I'm going to help get your podcast off the ground. I am going to help tell your brand story, and interview your customers, interview your employees. Maybe it's an internal podcast that lives on your wiki or lives in your whatever, right? So there's so many things that you can pitch, because you are just a person who understands this space, right? So you can, maybe it's a creator economy startup or something that you help get their content marketing game to the next level or something like that. So again, you lean on your own. You think that every brand, every company has it figured out, but everyone, that's just not the case. You have a particular set of skills, Liam Neeson style, right? A very particular set of skills that not everyone does. And so it's honestly, myself, I struggle to find people who yes, obviously I could go on Upwork and find a content writer or a blogger or something like that. But does that person really understand their creator economy? Probably not. Does that person, maybe, but it's a very particular type of person that I'm trying to look for. And the other thing too is that I don't even have time to go and look for that person. So it'd be so much better for you to pitch me and be like, hey, Justin, like I see your blog, but you could be doing so many things better. And I'd be like, sure, here's money. Like, that's what I want to do. I want someone to pitch me and like, here's some money, right? Like, I just don't have time. I have the money. I don't have the time, right? And so it's like, that is like, I think the biggest like unlock that for creators, like this is just an example, like give, some like informal banter between me and you, but like extrapolate that to your own niche, to your own content vertical. It's like, there are tens, hundreds, thousands of brands out there who I guarantee you have budgets for this type of thing, but they just don't have the time. They don't have the resource to actually try and find you. And it actually takes you reaching out and cold pitching them for them to be like, oh, yes, perfect. Thank you. We were looking to do that. Yes, here's some money, right? That's all it takes.
Love that. That is so true. Because I think, again, like if I take me, for example, that I had a one-track mind of, when I hit X amount of subscribers and I'm monetized on YouTube, then someone will reach out to me, or then I have, a platform to reach out to other people. But it was also like single-minded of that. That's almost the only way. And actually just in that, it's like, hang on, there is so many other things that are on the table on the way to being like monetization doesn't mean AdSense and purely just sponsorships. There are other ways in. That's such a great way of looking at that. I love that mindset. So thank you for that first.
Oh my, and cool. Of course. And the other thing too is that like a lot of people think that brand deals and sponsorships are this very like uniform one track thing. It's like consumer brand X, HelloFresh or Harry's or like some consumer brand reaches out and say, talk about my product on your channel. That's what people think a sponsorship is. But all the stuff that we just described, that is a partnership. That is a sponsorship. In my mind, that is a brand deal. So it's like, it's about like broadening your definition of what a brand deal is, what a sponsorship is. Because again, like there's all these different ways in which you can bring value to these types of companies. And
especially now, I guess, as like the YouTubers are getting bigger and they're expanding their own teams, kind of like you said, people are looking for writers or videographers or editors or all these different kinds of people. You get in with those, you build your experience, and all of a sudden.
Oh my gosh. Like I'm going through this struggle right now. This is a growing ecosystem right now of like, I am literally looking for a script writer, a YouTube script writer right now, because it is one of my major like roadblocks right now. Is it just takes me so much time to write these scripts, and I have a very particular voice in the way in which I do the videos. And like, I tried hiring a script writer, like a screenwriter, like a comedy. I want to, cause like I'm very irreverent. Like I want to like have jokes, and I want to like making fun of myself. And like, it's just like, it's really, really hard to find someone who is a good writer, like understands comedic timing, understands YouTube, right? Understands like how you actually write for YouTube, in terms of CTR and retention and all this stuff. So it's like a very, very niche. I've like put out calls on Twitter. I've talked to a few people, but it's just like, it's like really hard to find people who would be good at this kind of thing. And so it's like, there's this growing nascent developing community and opportunity, I think, for people who are in this space to help out and be part of other creators' teams to help there. And the beautiful thing about being on other creators' teams when you are growing as a creator is you get to an inside look at their businesses, right? And be like, how are they doing things, so that when you do reach that point, you're going to be really well prepared.
Yes. Yeah. That is so true. Right, people. Whoever wants to go and work for Justin, please just drop him an email. He is ready. He's got the money. He just needs someone.
Literally, I had someone, George, I'm going to call him out, a young kid. I'm like, sorry, George, if you don't feel like a kid, but fresh out of school, right?
Yes.
I don't consider myself a kid. I consider myself not fresh out of school. That's the difference. But he literally cold pitched me. He sent me an email and said, I have been following you on Twitter. I love your YouTube videos. I am trying to I love creator economy stuff. I'm just like a hustler. I'll figure stuff out. Like I'm a growth hacker type person, like, do you have a job for me? This is basically what he said, right? Like, I love, a couple ideas. And I said, George, I don't have a full-time job for you, but I have this Skunkworks project that I've been trying to get off the ground. It's kind of like a challenge thing that I want to like launch. It's a project. I'll pay you. Like, I just don't have time. Can you do it for me? He's like, yes. Right. And so like, look at that. Some guy, I have no idea I've never met this guy. He cold emailed me, wrote me a really compelling, nice email. And there we go. Hired him. Right. So again, like literally that's all it takes.
Amazing. Yeah. Right, people, listen up. Right, I totally cut you off on, not that I'm expecting you to remember where you were going in your trailer.
It's okay.
But we were talking about ways that, I guess, new content creators or people kind of not yet monetized can potentially reach out or kind of build brand relationships and make money. And obviously that was a very, very good way of doing that. Were you about to suggest something else?
Yeah. So it's not about sponsorships, but it is an important mindset, I would say. So one of the core principles that I teach in my course and in my one-on-one coaching and stuff like that is that the best way to get really lucrative sponsorships is to have a well-diversified business, right? Because if you have a bunch of other revenue streams like affiliate income or direct, merchandise or, product, digital courses, digital products, whatever, direct fan funding, Patreon type ideas. Like when you have a very well-diversified business, it allows you to be a better negotiator when you're working with brands, right? Because you can fall back on other income sources. It's when you rely on the income working with brands that you take the deals that you shouldn't, or you come down on your rate just to get the deal because you need the income. And I get it. Like we were there in the beginning. I totally get it. But it's like, it is one of the core things that I teach. Like when, once you have the baseline foundation of being a good negotiator and working with brands, then you do need to like build out the rest of your business so that you, again, are diversified. And so the reason I bring that up is that I think that there was so much more stigma around directly monetizing your audience and your community when we were starting out as like OG YouTubers, right? Like when you would be like, join a course or like, buy like merch. Yeah, merch was okay. Like you could sell shirts and mugs and stuff like that. But the moment that you were like, buy my course or like do my support me, right? It was like sell out, like how dare you, money grab, right? But it was really when Patreon came on the scene that people started like understanding the value of direct patronage to the creators that you love. And you can actually support, this free content that they're putting out along their journey. And so like, I actually view this kind of direct patronage model as like doing a lot to destigmatize the idea of actually paying creators that you love money to like help enable their journey. And so my biggest piece of advice of the creators for the next generation, the creators on TikTok and the creators who, are just kind of coming up is having those conversations around like selling things, coaching, products, like things like that, have those conversations so much earlier than like going back to this whole idea, I'm going to wait until I have like, 20,000 followers or whatever. No, like you can make, I'm a great testament. Like I only have, only 3,000 people on my Instagram, or like I only have 5,000, 6,000 creators on my newsletter type idea, right? But it's like, I just like launched a course. It's not a cheap course. It's $2,000. I have 58 creators in my course, right? So it's like, you don't have to have a large audience to split hairs. It's 47 paying creators, and I had 11 who got in for free because they referred a bunch of people to my newsletter. So but that's the point, right? You get the point, right? It's like, you don't have to have a large audience to like have people who find your expertise or the knowledge that you're bringing them valuable, right? And so again, like the game has changed, I think, for creators of this generation. And so you just need to like have that unlock around the value you bring.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. How would like practically one go about that? So again, if someone is sitting there with a couple of thousand on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, and they're in their head, they're like, well, hang on, I barely have an audience. How am I going to go? Like, what am I going to sell and how am I going to sell it? And are people going to buy it? And maybe around something like setting expectations, like what's the approach that someone would take?
Yeah. So ask them. You ask your audience, you say, what would you like me to do for you? Like, what are you struggling with? How can I help you? Right? I think it's like a lot of people overthink this. It's like it takes a survey on or a poll on your Instagram stories, or you literally create a Google form and you post it on your YouTube community tab, or right, you make a short, or you make a TikTok story, or whatever. You'd be like, I've had people DM me, or I've had people send me emails about this type, because that's what it was for me. Is like I started creating content for creators. There was no way you could pay me. I didn't have a course. I didn't have coaching. I didn't have any of that. And people started DMing me, hey, like, can you like coach me? I was like, coach you? Like, what does that mean? Right? I was not a sponsorship coach at that time. Right. So and then again, do you have a course? I was like, no, is that something people want? Like, right. So it's a lot of it is like, just like listening. It's like I'm sure people listening, you're getting comments, you're getting DMs, you're getting, emails around certain things. Maybe it's like certain things more than other things. Right. So it's like a lot of it just comes down to being receptive and not just like having more. There's this mindset around push and pull, right? A lot of creators push content onto their audience where they're just like, I think you would want to watch this. This is what I want to talk about. So here it is, right? Versus everything that I do is pull. Everything is like, oh, you want me to talk about that? Sure. Oh, you want me to go deeper on that? Sure. Right. So it's like in the beginning, it was like the first body of content was more push focused because I didn't really know. But now that I'm a little bit more advanced, it's much more being reactive to what people want to hear from me and listen from me. And I understand that's not for everyone. A lot of people want to be Steve Jobs and like craft their beautiful content in a vacuum and be like, here you go, I'm bestowing it to you. Right. But I think the vast majority of people would be a lot more fulfilled and feel a lot happier if they were just like, it almost Q&A style. It's like, oh, you want that? Sure, here it is. Right. And so I think that is like the most important mindset. And then the second thing is don't create anything until you actually get some pre-sales, right? You put up a landing page and you say, hey, I'm opening up 2 slots for coaching, or I'm opening up a pre-sale for my course that I'm going to be launching in the fall. Secure your spot here for a preferred price or whatever. And you literally don't do anything until you validate that there are people, who would be willing to compensate you for something like this. So I think just those 2 things are really, really critical to kind of prove that there is demand.
I think that's great. It's so simple. And I think that so many people just don't even think about those things, like putting out a survey or just being like, hey guys, what do you actually want from me? And asking people and getting that kind of awareness of demand.
I have sorry, I could talk for like 3 hours about this because I love this topic. The other major thing that I did that I think a lot of people are very uncomfortable with is that I was extremely transparent. There's this whole idea around building in public where it's like, I have been on Twitter, especially, I have shared so much behind the scenes stuff of building this business over the last 2 years. I've shared how I'm growing my newsletter. I've shared I've done a whole live streams about how I pre-sold my course. It's when you have your audience who is kind of like you, people are interested in this type of thing, right? So rather than feeling like you need to, again, design and craft and build this whole thing in a vacuum, you're letting people along that journey, because what happens then when you ask them, when you elicit that feedback and you share the journey of ideating the course, you share, hey, here's the kind of rough outline that I think I'm going to talk about in the course. What do you guys think? Is there anything I'm missing? What do you think? What happens? They feel invested, right? So when you ultimately do release it, they're like, oh, I got to sign up. I remember when Justin asked me for the outline and oh my God, look, there it is. Module 11 is blah, 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 the thing I mentioned, right? So people want to feel seen in this process. And so it's just don't be afraid to be vulnerable. And, I think a lot of people think that they have to be an expert in their field to teach other people. No, you just need to be a step ahead in your journey to be like, hey, I made that mistake. Don't do that. Let me show you how.
Yeah, just that what you've said. I feel that all the time is, who am I to tell anyone anything? And I can't imagine I'm the only one that thinks that. But you're right. I must be one step ahead of somebody. Somebody out there must be like, oh, I wonder how, Bob's doing that or something. So
I wonder how Bob got her YouTube channel and is interviewing these awesome creators. How did she overcome the imposter syndrome of talking to these big people? How did she, get that awesome podcast set up for her YouTube channel? There are people who are literally they would pay you for one-on-one coaching to get them. So much of my one-on-one coaching is therapy. I swear to God. It's just people needing to get out of their own head. Tell me, am I crazy for wanting to charge the brand this? Is this the right way to say this? So much of it is mindset related instead of just tactics. Give me a swipe file. Give me a template. No, it's therapy. I swear to God, it's therapy. So
so true. Mm-hmm. Okay, yes. Right. If anyone's listening and they want some coaching, you heard it here first. I'm opening it up. Let's do this.
I literally posted, Bob, on Twitter today, people cannot pay you for your expertise until you advertise that they can.
Yes.
Until you say, here is a one-on-one coaching link. Here you go. You can pay me through Stripe. Here you go. I literally, I cannot even describe to you. I only added into my email signature my one-on-one coaching link maybe a couple months ago. I charge $1,000 an hour. It's not cheap, right? And I cannot tell you how many random creators I have never met have booked me for one-on-one coaching sessions because I added it to my email signature. I don't advertise it anywhere else. So it's
Right. Okay.
Enough said.
Right. This is happening because imposter syndrome is big, like in my head, and I'm sure in other people's. And you're right. People aren't going to know unless you put it somewhere. Okay. But that raises a question, right? So again, I'm going to keep using me as an example because I think like that's just the easiest thing
See,
to do.
this is a personal therapy session. What did I say? Right? What did I just say?
God,
That was
it's
the whole.
true.
It was the whole like reason that you brought me on the podcast. See, I get it. It was sly. I get it.
Oh, I didn't even know I was doing it. I think that's the thing about these podcasts is I think they're all secretly. This is why I like to have my selfish segment question because, yeah,
I love it.
like other people are benefiting though. It's all good. You're right. It is therapy. Okay, so if someone was going to do that, the thing that people starting out do is, well, how am I supposed to price myself? And then they talk themselves out of it. They're like, well, I'm not worth that much. So you like saying, hey, my time is worth $1,000 an hour. So like, I'm sitting here and going, well, yeah, of course, you've got like all this experience, like you've got all these followers, you have this fan base, you know exactly what you're talking about. That makes sense. You are worth that much. And if I was to look at myself and I'd be like, well, I'm not worth that much. How, like, where would I or somebody else price themselves if they're totally new and starting out and they don't see anyone else that's doing the same thing?
It's a great question. I mean, I had the same struggle when I was starting out too, because I was like, what's a sponsorship coach? Like I called myself that, right? Because I knighted myself. Like, what is that even, right? Like, how much would I charge for something like that, right? And so the way I did it, and it's a little bit different, right? Because I do have some experience like with this stuff and expertise around it. But like my thought process is always around. So it's actually something I talk about in my course is like there's a lot of different pricing strategies that people use. There's competitive, right? So it's like, you know, I'm just going to like charge how much this person over here does because it seems like they're kind of at a similar level. And like I saw on their, you know, booking page, they're charging at $100 an hour. So I'll do that too, right? Or there's cost plus pricing where it's like, oh, you know, I just want to value my time. I want to make at least $50 an hour, you know, and like it's going to take time to like edit the footage and like I'm just going to like capture that. So I'll add an arbitrary percentage. Okay, that's my number, right? So people go through these like, and then there's dynamic. So it's like, oh, you know, for a creator, like I'm really busy around the holidays. All these brands are wanting to like work with me. So I'm gonna just like up my prices during the holidays, right? So it's just like, right. So it's like everyone goes through this evolution of different pricing styles. And so the way I always look at pricing is it's so much more profound and impactful to put yourself in the shoes of your prospective and ideal customer. If they didn't hire you, Bob, what are their alternatives? They are going to have to probably go down a rabbit hole of YouTube videos and blog posts and like figure out what's the ideal setup for, you know, setting up my own podcast or getting my channel launched. How do I edit? Maybe I've never done editing before. So like maybe I have to watch a bunch of tutorials on editing. So it's just like, what is that? What is the value of all of the time and all of the like aimless searching and wandering that your prospective customer or coaching client would have to do? What is that time valued to them? Maybe, so that's one thing. Then the other thing is, okay, who is the psychographic of my ideal customer? Let's just assume for a second that you are targeting busy working professionals who want to start a podcast on the side. Okay. So this is someone who has a 9-to-5 job. Maybe they're, you know, high profile professional, lawyer, you know, doctor, whatever it is, right? This is someone who has something to say. They want to flex their creative muscle. They have income, but they don't have time. Right. And so this is the person who is going to pay you because you are a shortcut to accomplish their goal. So rather than aimlessly wander for 6 months trying to figure out to do it themselves, hey, let me just pay Bob $500 for this hour. And she has this checklist for me of like, okay, this is my crash course on getting my podcast set up. I'm going to, you know, go out. Bob's going to help me hire an editing team, right? She's going to tell me these are the 3 resources, go hire them. She's going to tell me what equipment, but here's the equipment list. She's going to give me a template for how to, you know, like structure a podcast interview, the types of, you know, questions to ask, right? Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to pay Bob $500 all day long for stuff like that because it's going to help me accomplish my goal faster. So it's less about how much you're going to charge per hour, and it's more about productizing your knowledge and your expertise and saying $500 is how much you have to pay me to get this shortcut. I'm going to get you from here to here, $500. What I don't know, I'm just making a number. So it's like, it's less about like figuring out the exact number. And it's more around like, if I get into the mindset of my ideal customer, what would an hour of my time be worth to them?
this is totally off a tangent, but this is so helpful and useful. So thank you. I realize this is not where I wanted the conversation to go, but it's incredibly helpful. So thank you for going into all of that. Because you're right. I think a lot of it is just imposter syndrome and like people getting in their own head and overthinking stuff. And I guess just putting themselves down. So yes, love all of that. Okay. To bring this back, I guess, to where we started. So say if somebody is, and this is no longer me, so don't worry, it's not selfish questions, but say if somebody was monetized.
I think it's way more interesting to make it like really personal and tactical.
Okay, that makes me feel better. I felt really bad. So people are maybe like brands are starting to reach out to them and they are starting to say, hey, we've noticed you've got a following or whatever, or we either want to work with you or we're just sending you stuff. Like should people start dealing with that? And at what point should they start getting strategic about it? And how do they get strategic about it, I guess?
Yeah. So to be very simple about this, 99% of creators make one critical flaw when it comes to interacting with brands. And that is that they do not ask the brand, what is your goal with this collaboration? Okay. The brand comes to them and says, hey, we want to talk about this product. We want to do a YouTube integration or a dedicated video, maybe some social amplification on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. How much, right? How much are you going to charge for that, right? That's the stereotypical inquiry, right? And what most creators do, and they say, sure, sounds good. It's going to be $2,000. That's their answer, right? Whereas there's so much more information that you can glean from being a detective at the outset of these inquiries that will, number one, make you way more money, and number two, ensure that the partnership is so successful that they want to hire you again. Okay? Because that is the goal. The goal is not a one-off transaction. The goal is, wow, working with Bob was so amazing that I want to hire her every month, or I want to hire her for a 6-month, 12-month partnership, right? So let's pull this thread a little bit. When you ask the brand, hey, like, what is your goal working with creators or working with me on this collaboration, right? If they say to you, well, we really want to drive sales for this clothing line or whatever, or this SaaS software product or whatever, right? That is our metric for success, that we're assuming that we can get maybe 50 trial signups or whatever from the video you're going to make. If they say that to you, your pitch should not be, oh, I have, 5,000 followers on my channel and my average viewership is going to be this, and it's going to get all this engagement and all these comments. They don't give a crap. All they care about is sales. They just told you that, right? So your goal to them is to craft a proposal, craft different types of posts that will directly be in line with attributable action. So for example, you could say, we could definitely do a YouTube video, but I actually think we should lean heavier on the side of, let's say, Instagram stories, for example. Maybe we do a couple sets of Instagram stories so that we can have a sticker link on every single frame, so that there is a call to action on every single frame to go and drive to that landing page to drive the trial signups, right? So that's just like a very small example of like if it was conversion focused. Number two, the other thing that you could suggest is that, knowing that conversions is important to you, I took a look at the landing page that you actually want me to send people to, and I would like to make some recommendations. I think that you should have my picture on there. Be like, hey, everyone, like smiling photo of Bob, right? It's like, hey, welcome, Creator Campfire listeners or viewers or whatever. And then you have your video embedded there. Maybe you have an exclusive video there, like where you say, here's 3 exclusive tips about how to get the best, value out of your software or whatever that you didn't even talk about on your channel, right? So that people watch there and be like, oh, this is awesome, right? Let me sign up, right? So think about how your job now is to ensure that your viewer, your follower, you pull them further down the purchase journey for that partner, right? So do you see how much like your recommendation has changed now based on what they told you was the goal of the collaboration? Because so many creators they just don't even think about it. They don't ask these questions. And then when the campaign doesn't go well, it doesn't get the amount of views or it doesn't get the amount of, trial signups or whatever, the brand's mad potentially. They are feeling like sheepish. And then they never go back to the brand and be like, hey, let's do another collaboration, because they just feel that imposter syndrome that the campaign did not go well. And so this is the biggest unlock I can recommend. It's very simple, but it's like it unlocks so much about your potential as a creator. Another example, what if the brand tells you that, oh, the goal of collaborating with you is that we just love your content. It's so beautiful. It's super high quality. We love your personality. You're awesome. You align really well with our ideal customer. Then your pitch to them should not be, oh, I'm going to make a YouTube video about it. No, it's, I'm going to make 5 30-second videos for you that I don't even post, and you can use it for paid advertising. Yeah, it's going to be 5 times more money, but you just told me that what you're most excited about is my content, right? So again, you can unlock so much more money. You can unlock such more protracted, amazing, mutually beneficial partnerships with brands. It's a game changer.
Yes, okay. All of this stuff is just like, what? I realize I'm not there. But just knowing this, hopefully in preparation for that, is just like that. Again, it comes back to mindset, but just, yeah, that's like an unlock. It's like, hang on, just change the way you think about these things. It's not, hey, someone's just going to come knock on your door and offer you some money, and then you'll agree a rate, and that's the end, and you move on to the next one. It's like when you're building a whole relationship with these people, and yes, the idea is to get repeat custom. Why wouldn't you want somebody to work with you again and again? That's surely going to be easier than trying to find new people over and over again.
I literally tell creators, do you realize what you're doing? You are firing yourself from your 9-to-5 job every single month. You work with a brand and then you never talk to them again. And you're back there on the street hustling, spare change, right? It's like, no, go. Do you know how much easier it is to convince a brand that you just worked with to hire you again? It's so much easier, right? So I don't understand it. And so this is I'm hammering just over and over. People, listen to me. I'm ringing the bell. Please listen, go work with past brand partners. And honestly, what it comes down to at the end of the day is, you just have to care. You have to care about their business objectives. You have to care about what they're trying to accomplish. And you can't just care about the money that they're going to pay you, because the incentives aren't going to be aligned.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And I guess the second you start asking those kind of questions and start engaging with them and show that you care, you're already probably separated yourself from other people, right? Because all of a sudden it's not just, here's my rate, pay me and we'll move on. Yeah, that's cool. Speaking of, are there any other ways that you could, speaking of not trying to get yourself fired from your 9-to-5, are there any other ways that you could continue to maybe build that relationship or to get that repeat custom so that you don't have to go out and find somebody new every time?
100%. I mean, imagine if you said something as part of our partnership, I would like to schedule regular meetings. Maybe it's monthly, maybe it's quarterly, where we meet up. I meet up with your marketing team or your agency, whatever. And we talk about how the last iteration of content went. What went well? Let's look at some of the comments, were people asking you to, oh, I wish you would have focused on this particular feature or benefit of the product more. Hey, maybe we should focus on that in the next iteration of the content. You allow them to provide you feedback. You allow them to say, hey, we actually have a slightly new direction of the messaging, or maybe there's a seasonal promotion or something, right? So it's you allow them to be able to give you that feedback, because like you just said, most creators, their egos are too big. They don't want that feedback. Oh, don't give me the feedback. Don't talk to me you're ruining my creative genius. It's no, this is a business relationship. It's a business transaction. So by saying and showing your willingness to actually have those conversations and get that feedback and be, receptive to that, you're putting yourself in a completely new category. You are now not just a commodity. You're not a vendor. You're a partner. This is something that they can see themselves working with for a long time period, because you are actually invested in actually making them better.
Yeah. And kind of going back to what we were talking about at the start. So whereas if you don't have an audience or something, you can still reach out to people and try and build relationships. Is this something you can still do with these kind of companies, or is it you still kind of wait for them to come and offer the first thing?
100%. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I teach, is that creators, by and large, they just are kind of sitting on their hands and waiting for like opportunities to fall in their inbox. You have literally no control over whether someone decides to reach out to you tomorrow or next week or never, right? And so regardless of where you're at in your creator journey, you have to be augmenting your sponsorship strategy with outbound pitching, right? So this is like a really, really big myth. Creators think that like, oh, when I get to a certain point, like all the deals will come to me. And yes, to some degree, you'll get a larger volume of inbound deal flow. That is true. But you absolutely need to be supplementing the voids with outbound pitching. And this is something that a lot of larger creators don't understand. And they just kind of like they think, oh, I can't generate a consistent income from sponsorships, which is 100% false. Like I just told you, like we've been full-time creators for over 8 years, and a large percentage of our revenue has been from sponsorships because we had a system in place. It wasn't we were just sitting on our hands. We were constantly understanding. Like I can tell you with certainty, like how much money we're going to make in 6 months, right? Because we have a pipeline of partnerships, whether it's past brand partners or deals that we've been nurturing, that we know exactly what deals we're going to be working on for a long time period because we built the systems in place to actually track it.
That sounds lovely. It's wonderful. Okay, last kind of questions is obviously there's like, you can do all of that, but that's an incredibly time consuming thing, right? And that's obviously something you guys have learned over time. And like to an extent, you almost had each other, right? You weren't like a solo person trying to navigate this. And there's a lot of experience there. There are people that are either part-time YouTubers still, or even with full-time, just have a lot of stuff going on, or just this might not come naturally for them. Is this something that actually is quite straightforward to learn? And is it as scary as it seems? Or like, where does like getting a manager or an agent or an agency come into this? And like, what's that? What are the conversations or things that people have to weigh up when that starts coming around?
Yeah. So I also, maybe we can include it in the show notes, I actually have a video all around this topic of like, when should you get a manager? Like, what are the pros and cons of actually doing this? Because, my wife and I, we've never had a manager per se, but we've been a part of several MCNs or multi-channel networks, like YouTube networks over the years. We've had lots of different types of experiences, different channels and different networks and all this stuff. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we have always kind of been our biggest advocates for ourselves and kind of felt that was an important thing to do. However, like I understand, like there's a lot of creators who they're creative at the end of the day. They don't want to deal with any of the business stuff. Like you said, they didn't get into it to like get a business degree. Like they just got into it for the love of the craft. Right. And so like there definitely is a place like, yeah, hire someone onto your team who will be your advocate. Some of the like advice that I'll give around this topic is that, regardless of whether you decide to actually hire a manager or not, I actually do believe that it's incredibly critical to obtain foundational knowledge around what it actually takes to grow a creator business. Because how are you going to know if this advice that they're giving you is even good? Right. So if they're telling you like, you should work with this brand, or yeah, you should launch a merchandise thing with this particular company, or you should, blah, 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 blah. Like, how are you going to know if that is good unless you actually have, you've taken a course, or you've, talked to, people in your network, or you've you've actually educated yourself around best practices. I think that everyone wants a shortcut. Like, oh, just let me hire an agent and I'll give him 20%. And like, that'll be great. Like, I'll just keep doing videos and all that stuff. And I'm just like, okay, but like what's going to happen in that scenario with those types of managers or those types of agencies? They have like 5,000 creators. Are you going to be a priority for them? Probably not. Right. And so, yeah, there are definitely like individual managers who have a pretty small roster. But the trick is that they're only going to work with you if you get to a certain place in your career where you're going to justify their time because you already have inbound deal flow. Right. And so it does become this kind of challenge. And actually, Bob, that is the void that I'm trying to fill with my content and my coaching and my courses, because there's this giant long tail of creators, let's say between 10,000 followers and 150,000 followers, where they're not quite big enough yet to maybe have a full-time team or a manager or whatever, but they're making money. They're doing brand deals for $200, $500, $1,000, $1,500. It's all money, right? But they don't have guidance. They don't have mentorship. So honestly, like that's the void I'm trying to fill, because like having a manager is not going to be a good fit for everyone. And you still need to like educate yourself and invest in your knowledge.
That's so true. Because like even when you outsource like editing, when you start editing, it's like, oh, I'm going to outsource this because I don't want to figure out. But you will outsource so much better if you like do a few like videos yourself and understand the foundations, the basic, to know what you're looking for, what your kind of vibe is, and like if someone's taking the mic or something. So yeah, that's really good. And yes, sorry, exactly like you mentioned, you are trying to fill this void, and you've got an amazing YouTube channel to do this, which I will link, and I'll link everything that we've talked about as well in the show notes. But do you want to just really quickly talk about your course as well? Because that sounds amazing.
Yeah, of course. So my course is called Brand Deal Wizard. And it is a 4-week cohort-based course where I go through nuts to bolts about sponsorship strategy. So week 1 is all about pitching, like a lot of what we talked about today. So like understanding both inbound and outbound pitch. Like what do you say when a brand reaches out to you versus actually how do you attract the attention cold from a brand that you really want to work with? Understanding like how do you actually find the right contacts at brands? Like, is this the right person, their email addresses and so on. So that's like a big thing we focus on. Week 2 is all around pricing, the age old question, right? Like how do you set your rates, negotiation psychology, understanding how to construct packages, absolutely critical. That's like one of my, I actually just taught that last night because I'm in a current cohort right now. So it's always like one of the most fun, actually no, Tuesday night. And then week 3 is all around execution of the partnership. This is something that not enough people talk about, which is like, how do you actually, once you've actually agreed to terms with a brand, how do you actually go through the production process without them hating you on the other end of it, right? Because like, it's honestly this phase of the partnership that will determine whether they want to partner with you again or not in the future. So if you're really, really difficult versus you make it extreme smooth sailing, how do you actually do that? How do you avoid reshoots and revisions? And they just come out the other end being like, wow, like we're definitely hiring Bob again. That was like amazing. That was the best. She's unlike any creator we've ever worked with, right? So that I focus on that in week 3. And then week 4 is all around nurturing, right? This whole conversation. How do you get brands to work with you again? How do you develop case studies for yourself, right? So you can use these to, work with new brands, use these to, convince existing partners to work with you again too. So it literally is nuts to bolts of, how you actually develop a sustainable, scalable income from sponsorships, which most people have just never thought was possible. It was like, brand deals are nice when you can get them, but they're never predictable, right? Which is 100% a myth, like 100%. And so it's if you want to join the waitlist, I teach it 3 times a year. There's so many other cool things. We have guest speakers, we have office hours, there's an awesome alumni community. It's just such a blast. This is going to be, so the next in the fall, so I teach it 3 times a year in the summer, the fall, and the winter. So the next cohort's going to be in the fall and around the October timeframe. And so, you can go to, branddealwizard.com to join the waitlist. But really, honestly, I would say the best thing to do is join my newsletter because it's creatorwizard.com/join and it's completely free. And I literally send you, get this, paid sponsorship opportunities every single week for free. Okay. So you literally have no reason, unless you hate money, you should not sign up for the newsletter. Okay. But so I send you, tips on negotiating, pitching, all that stuff. But yeah, literally we sent paid sponsorship opportunities every single week. So yeah, would love to have you in the community. Oh man.
Okay. That is fantastic. Okay. Everybody sign up. That would be really stupid not to. Okay. Links to everything will be in the description and in the show notes, depending on whether you're listening or watching this episode. So don't worry about writing any of that down. I will link it all up. Justin, this has been amazing. I've learned so much. Thank you for the mini therapy session halfway through. Thank you for just the insane energy. I feel so pumped up. I need to calm down because it's like nearly bedtime here. But it's so cool. It's infectious and I absolutely love it. But yeah, thank you for taking the time as well. I've thoroughly enjoyed this hour.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Links to where you can find Justin and everything we mentioned in the episode will be in the description below or the show notes, depending on whether you're watching or listening. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.